You know, I watched Am I Racist just a few days ago and really enjoyed it. Watched it with my wife, Carrie. Thought it was really fun. And we love to see people from our side of just the view of life, if you will, not just the right, but just people that see the world through rational eyes to make creative content. And Matt Walsh is with us now. He is from the Daily Wire, the Matt Walsh Show. His movie Am I Racist is in theaters. It is super funny, and Matt did a great job. Matt, appreciate you making the time for us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's start with I'm noticing a trend, Matt, which is everyone that I speak to or see who has seen the movie thinks it's really well done, really clever, really funny, and yet so the Rotten Tomatoes for the fans, or for the audience, I should say, very strong. But I feel like you're getting a little frozen out by some of the mainstream critics. What's going on?
Yeah, completely frozen out, in fact. So as it stands right now, we did just finally get an official Rotten Tomatoes tomato rating, because we got to 10 reviews from the critics. And it's, right now it's good. I think we're sitting at 80%. But those are all independent reviewers who we really appreciate the fact that they reviewed the film. We have yet to have a single film critic from a mainstream publication review the film, which I think is, if not unprecedented, it certainly is extremely uncommon that you would have a top 5 theatrically widely released film that is not reviewed at all by any mainstream publication, even a week after release. I can't think of another example of this happening. And
is it just Matt? Is it that they're too sorry? Just they're too scared to even. You would think that they could just review it and trash it, right? Like that's what the commies would usually do. But are they just too scared to even say anything about it or bring attention to it?
I think that's it, because you're right. We're very used to seeing the Rotten Tomatoes thing where it's like a 35% critic score and a 90% audience score. That's usually what they do. They just go in and trash the film because it's made by someone they don't like. In this case, they won't even do that. And so I can only assume it's because they don't want to acknowledge, we are exposing the DEI grift. And if they acknowledge the film, they're acknowledging sort of that exposure, and they don't want to do that. And also, I'm very biased, of course, but I think it's a good movie, and it's going to be harder for them to pretend that it's just a total piece of garbage. They'll have to give it I think they have to give us some credit if they review it. And they don't want to do that because they're worried that their audience will rip them to shreds if they don't rip us to shreds. So that's kind of the bind that they're in, I guess.
Matt, appreciate you coming on. This is Clay, your seatmate on the most recent flight I bet you took to L.A. Matt and I ended up sitting side by side coming back to Nashville. So, and on Monday, I went to go see this last week. And here's the best compliment I can give for people who have not seen the movie Am I Racist that Matt Walsh made. Your performance, and I'm not even trying to pump you up here. As I was watching it, it felt both Sacha Baron Cohen and Larry David-esque in that there was a lot of cringe humor, right, which would be very common with Larry David, but also in the same way back when the Borat movies were doing their heyday, you allowed people to expose themselves merely by almost acting as a mirror to reflect them. I'm curious, when you were making the movie, did you think about either of those guys as people who had done something that you were similarly trying to do? Part one. Part two, how do you keep a straight face for all this? Were there elements of this movie where you broke down and started to laugh? Is there an outtake version, or are you just uniquely skilled at deadpan comedy?
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate it sitting next to you on the plane. You're the first person in 20 years I've sat next to on a plane who was reading a physical newspaper. So that was an interesting experience, which I respect a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
And, yes, we did. I always appreciate the comparisons to Borat, Larry David. I mean, these are comic geniuses. So even if they are far to the left and we don't agree politically at all, but they're using a style of humor, Sacha Baron Cohen in particular, using a style of comedy that to this point, the right has not made use of. But the thing is that the left isn't really using it either. I mean, you could go back. Yeah, you go back to Borat, the first one, the only funny one. Even early Jon Stewart, Daily Show, doing a lot of this kind of thing. And they've really gotten away from it too. So I think it sort of opens up. There's a wide open market here to come in, and that's what we're trying to do. In terms of maintaining the deadpan, the honest truth is that I wasn't very tempted to laugh in the moment, because in the moment, in real time, when you're in the room with these people, they are so aggressively unpleasant and quite ugly in the way that they approach life and the things that they're saying, that the temptation is less to laugh and more to like yell at them and start arguing with them, which was very much my instinct, and I had to hold back on that.
We're speaking to Matt Walsh. He has the movie Am I Racist out now. Clay and I have both seen it. Highly recommend it. You will enjoy it. And I do, Matt, if I may, you were talking with critics before. I have one point of criticism that I wanted to address with you directly here on the show. And it's when you made the decision to go undercover, and my wife and I looked at each other, we had the same thought. Matt, if you shaved your beard, you could become Biden's White House press secretary. Like, nobody would know who Matt Walsh is sans beard. Was there a consideration for going full deep cover here of shaving the beard, or is that just like Samson's hair? The temple falls around you. You can't do it. Because the man bun, I mean, you still look like Matt Walsh with the man bun, but without that beard, dude, I don't know. I don't think anybody would know.
We sat around in a conference room having a long conversation about this is what my job entails. Sitting around a conference room having a very serious professional dialogue about what costume I should wear. And it was suggested by multiple people in the room that, hey, if I just shave the beard, but I shut that down immediately. That's off the I'm willing to do a lot of things to expose the left. I think I've shown that. I draw the line there. I cannot do that. And I cannot I can't force my wife and children to live with me beardless. They wouldn't allow me to do it. They would run in terror if I walked in the home without a beard. So I couldn't do it.
Matt, any movie or book or anything that you try to make where you're creating something, you're not really sure how it's going to turn out in the process of being in the middle of it. That creative spark, however you want to describe it, sometimes it comes through and you're like, man, this book's going to come out perfectly. I'm curious. The movie is fantastic. Again, I would encourage people to go watch it. It's really funny. And it's on a lot of theaters out there right now. We should have mentioned. So you can go see it in your state, your communities. You can look it up. At what point, as you're making the movie, did you think to yourself, okay, we've got something here. I think this is going to be really good. Was there a moment? Was there a scene? Was there something that worked better than you anticipated? When was that moment for you in the midst of the making of this movie?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly where that moment was. It was Robin DiAngelo, the Robin DiAngelo scene, and which the spoilers are everywhere now anyway, so there's no point in hiding the fact that we did get Robin DiAngelo, and we convinced her to pay reparations to my black producer on camera, among other exercises that we had her do with me. And when we got that, we actually did that somewhat early on in filming. And after we got that scene, we knew that, okay, we have a movie here. I mean, even if we get nothing else, this alone justifies the existence of the film. And fortunately, we got a lot more than that. But that was the moment we all looked at each other and said, all right, I guess we have a movie.
I actually got to tell you something, Matt. I break with some of the consensus here because my favorite part of the movie is actually the beginning of the movie when you're at when you're having like the DEI seminar and that lady and the guy gets mad at you and you said you didn't consent to be touched. That's one of my favorite parts. But also the fact that they call the police on you. Well, on what basis were they calling the police on you?
Well, apparently I made them feel unsafe. That's what you hear the girl in that scene, the woman say that she doesn't feel safe, which is really funny because not only was I not being aggressive or hostile, but I was actually, my sin in that group was I was too eager a participant. I was so eager to be a part of this and just starting my journey that, and yet still they somehow felt unsafe. But by the way, my own personal favorite scene in the movie is the opening workshop scene. Maybe it's just, the opportunity to antagonize those people for 2 hours was just a lot of fun. So I really like that scene.
I also liked, and again, we're giving some spoilers. We're talking to Matt Walsh, the movie's Am I Racist? The local news segments The Good Morning Utah or whatever it was. I mean, I really lost it on that. They didn't do like the basic amount of research, but I'm just curious on the making. How many local news broadcasts did you guys have to reach out to get the interviews that you did? And were there some, because I also think it's really funny if you happen to be a Daily Wire fan or a Matt Walsh fan and Good Morning Utah or whatever the heck it was on. Did anybody clip those and share them? Did you see it get like yourself getting tagged? I'm really kind of fascinated how that happened because it's kind of a giveaway of what's going on potentially. Did people just never know that happened? Or were you concerned that might get out virally and help kind of make it clear what you were doing? I'm curious how that segment of the movie went.
Yeah, we assumed when we did that it would be out, that the next day it's going to be all over Twitter. So we just went into it with that assumption. And I was shocked that didn't happen. I mean, I got a few emails from people who happened to be watching these various news segments saying, like, some funny emails like, I'm pretty sure I just saw you in a man bun on my local news, but was that actually you? And I just ignored the emails. So I don't know why that didn't end up on the internet. I guess it's providential. But the truth is that of all the things we did, that was the easiest to set up. I mean, these local news channels did like zero due diligence. We didn't even give them my last name. We just said that, like, I'm Matt, the DEI guy or whatever. And that was enough. They introduced me that way. They didn't even ask for my last name at any point, which was pretty remarkable.
Did the anchors figure it out like by the end, or are they still like, Matt, that was great. Like, thanks for decentering our whiteness.
I think that the ones in Utah, the ones where I was in person, I could tell because that was a longer segment, obviously, than what appears in the movie. And by the end of that conversation, they were kind of looking at each other like, something's not right here. But they had to, they were professionals about it. I'll give them that. They just went with it. And then I finished my interview and I left. By the way, one of the ways I got in there is I was wearing a COVID mask behind the scenes. And I wore that right until the cameras came on so that if they did recognize me, it would happen on camera. So, but I didn't do that to disguise myself. I only did it for safety because I was really concerned about my safety and everyone else's, of course.
I want to give you guys credit at the Daily Wire because I was in Lady Ballers. I have a small role. This movie now too, but I've talked with a lot of the guys and gals that work over there. And I think many people out there listening to us right now, this is really going to register with them too. Starting in about 2010, movies just stopped being funny. There has not been there were tons in the early 2000s. You can go back and watch whatever you think of the politics, super bad, old school. We can run through a long list, a 40-year-old virgin of movies that were made that were actually very funny. Everybody could go and watch and laugh at them. And then they just stopped. And I'm curious what you would attribute that to. But to your point, it creates a huge marketplace for opportunity, right? For actually movies that just want to make people laugh.
Yeah, I think it is. It's fascinating to me, just as a matter of kind of history, that it seems that there's a real cutoff point about 2013 or 2014 is the last time you see real comedies from Hollywood. And then it really, as you said, it stopped for about 10 years. I don't know what exactly to attribute to that to. I think that, Trump came on the scene a couple of years after that, and that helped to kill comedy from the left. And one of the reasons is that they're so angry and they consider Trump to be such a existential threat that it was almost like, well, we can't do comedy anymore. It's not serious enough. Political satire in particular from the left, I think, dropped off after that because it wasn't serious enough. And anytime they talk about Trump, they have to seriously convey that he's a threat to democracy and all this nonsense. And so they started to take themselves way too seriously, and in an odd sort of way, they started to take their opponents too seriously too. And I think that is what has created this vacuum that, the Babylon Bee has been doing it for a while, but I think there's a lot more we could be doing on the right to come in and sort of fill that vacuum. Because if they don't want to be funny, like, hey, let's do it, because comedy is it's a very disarming thing. It's like kind of a universal language. If you can make people laugh, then you made them laugh. And whether you're leftist or conservative, it's a way to kind of convey a message to everybody.
The movie is Am I Racist? You should go check it out. It's in Matt, right? Wide release in theaters. People can just look on their local listings.
Absolutely. Or you can go to amiracist.com to get tickets.
Matt, great work, man. Clay and I really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You know, if you don't want to be one of these male feminists that Matt was making fun of at some of these little workshops and stuff that have testosterone levels that are probably in the negative, you got to make sure you have the right stuff. You know, you got to make sure you've got your T levels where they need to be. And that's where Chalk comes in. Chalk's male vitality stack is formulated with natural ingredients to replenish diminished testosterone in your body. Because as you get older, it's natural. You know, you don't get to like NPR levels of zero production, but your levels start to drop off a little bit. That's just how it happens. But Chalk can help you out. The leading ingredient in Chalk's male vitality stack has been proven in studies to replenish 20% of diminished testosterone in men in just 3 months' time. Chalk also has other products like the Chad mode, which I absolutely love. When I go to the gym, I take Chad mode, and man, I am fired up, and I get better workouts, longer workouts, more intense workouts. Go online to their website, check out their products, chalk.com. Use my name, Buck, for a massive discount on any subscription for life. You can cancel at any time, but I have a feeling you're not going to want to. You're going to love Chalk once you try it. You can also call or text 50-CHALK-3000 and say Clay and Buck sent me. That's 50-CHALK-3000. Chalk's U.S.-based customer service team is working today to assist you right now.